If I don't go on a trip, my husband by extension can't go because, for the record, it's my family's cabin. We're both 30, we have 4 children combined. The youngest is an infant. I'm not sure what it is about his family, but our daughter screams whenever these people are around us, every other week at least. Whenever they come over, I feel beyond stressed out because my daughter screams the entire time, and his family thinks it's funny. They pass her around while she's screaming, and they laugh about it, and it takes them forever to hand her back to me to get her calmed down. And all of them claim that she acts like that because I spoil her. His family consists of his mom and his 2 sisters, and both of his sisters have 1 daughter each, young teen and teen. Our daughter doesn't act like this when it comes to anyone else, family, friends, or complete strangers. She loves people, but the second any of my husband's family comes around, she's screaming from when they show up until they leave, unless I physically leave the room with her. Anyway, I needed a vacation. I asked my parents if I could use their cabin for a week next week, and they said yes. My husband, for whatever reason, decided that he wanted his mom to come, and she invited her daughters. So I'm getting text messages saying, what should I bring, and whatever else. I never wanted them to come. I asked my husband why he would invite his family when it was pretty much set in stone that I would have an absolute nightmare of a time because our daughter does not like these people. The whole point of a damn vacation was to relax, not add more stress to it by basically ensuring that our daughter would not be set down for a split second because she was afraid of his family. He said that he thought it would be okay because we talked in the past, pre-baby, about inviting them to the cabin for a family vacation. He said that maybe having our daughter surrounded by all of them for a week would make her like them. I told him I was 100% not okay with that. He needs to tell them that none of them are welcome, even his mother, whom I can't stand to be around due to her constant baby advice. You need to put her down, she acts like that because you spoil her. He said he doesn't feel comfortable telling them they can't go because he already said they could and doesn't want to offend anyone. I snapped and said, either tell them they aren't coming or me and the kids won't go. Better yet, you can stay home with your family and me and the kids will go without you. He slammed the door to his office and now not speaking to me. Am I the idiot? He says that I'm deliberately cutting his family out and have been since the baby was born. Honestly, I feel like cutting his family out because it stresses me out having a baby scream for hours whenever they come here. I'm tired of it because it's me who has to deal with it. Edit, he makes a habit of doing this. Whenever we go anywhere, beach, park, movies, etc., he invites either his mom or his mom and his sisters and nieces. If he only invites his mom, she'll then invite her daughters. We literally can't do anything without them, and this is how it's been since we moved back to his hometown 2 years ago. I've told him several times that I'm tired of it and don't want them invited to go with us everywhere we go. He doesn't see the issue and tries pulling the, if it was your family you wouldn't mind. But there's zero comparison because I see my family maybe 3 times a year. He even invited his mom here immediately following us leaving the hospital with the baby without telling me, and she invited her daughters. So they all showed up here when my daughter was 3 days old and got angry at me for not being okay with it. Not the idiot. It wasn't his cabin nor his choice to invite his family without asking you first. The fact that he asked his family without prior consultation with you tells me he doesn't care much about how you feel because he doesn't feel your input is necessary when making such decisions. Right? Like, oh, we're going to your family's cabin? I'll invite my family. Huh? Why would I ask you if that's okay? Completely intentionally oblivious. I completely understand why she's not his first wife, and I wonder how many more he'll have after her. And speaking of raising a spoiled child, mother-in-law sounds like she did that herself and can't criticize. Not only does he not care how OP feels, he also doesn't care how his daughter feels. Yes, she's a baby, but babies have feelings and likes and dislikes, and his daughter has repeatedly and loudly expressed her feelings about spending time with her husband's family. Whether the baby's feelings are justified doesn't matter. Her parents should respect them and protect his daughter from being passed around and laughed at when she clearly doesn't like it. I'm starting to think maybe his family is pinching her. This was my first thought. Someone in his family, maybe all, is pinching, pulling hair or sticking their fingernails into the baby's flesh. These would be incredibly easy to hide and cause that tiny baby pain. I can't imagine the week's worth of pain that the child would endure if they went to the cabin together. I wonder what the older children are experiencing. There must be something going on, but it would be more subtle. I, 24 female, named my toddler daughter Indy. My sister, 35, gave birth to her first child recently, my niece, and she also called her Indy. The name Indy was not one my sister had mentioned to me before I had my child. My boyfriend and I just really liked the name for our daughter. The name is not a family name either. I say all this because my sister is now unhappy and confusion has already started with my daughter and hers sharing the same first name. She got into a fight with our dad because he called them Big Indy and Little Indy, and he snapped back that he needed something to help him make it clear which Indy he was talking about. He also told her it would only get worse as they grew up. My sister went on a rant about it. She told me everyone acts like she did something wrong and that calling her daughter Indy should not be a big crap show, but it is. She then told me I should start calling my daughter by her middle name instead of by her first. That way everyone could be happy. I told her that if she didn't like the fact that both girls shared the same name, people would come up with different ways to differentiate between them. She could use her daughter's middle name or create a nickname if that would be better. But I told her I would not change what I call my daughter after 2 years because she decided to use the same name for her cousin. My sister called me selfish. She told me that she had every right to name her child whatever she wanted, and I cut her off and said yes, but that it didn't give her the right to insist I call my daughter something else. She tried to get our mom to intervene with me and my dad. Mom told my sister that she should have seen this coming since Dad is all too experienced with the confusion of multiple family members with the same name because his family liked reusing the same few names throughout, and he had to do the same with his family members his whole life because of it. She also told her that I used the name first, therefore if she was unhappy with the name being used twice, it was up to her to change it. My sister claimed I should have been able to sit down and discuss a compromise instead of refusing outright and not engaging more. So, am I the idiot? My sister called me selfish. LOL, the hypocritical sentence of the week. And there is no compromise to be had here. Everyone acts like she did something wrong because she did. She used the same name that you did and expected you to change to suit her. Your family spends a lot of time with each other, so there will always be confusion. And she did this knowing the situation on your dad's side of the family with multiple uses of name. Not the idiot at all, OP. I think it's hysterical that she's calling you selfish when she's the one who's causing all the problems and being demanding. Your comebacks to her were perfect. Your mom's right. Your sister should have seen this coming. It's not your responsibility to clean up her mess by changing your daughter's name. She's the one who needs to come up with a solution if she's so bothered by the confusion. You've done nothing wrong, and it's unfair for your sister to pressure you. Your sister needs to grow up and accept the consequences of her own actions. I, 29 male, and my wife 30 have been together for 7 years and married for 4. Last year she came up with the idea of an open relationship to try out new things. I said it's not something comfortable for me and would like to stay monogamous. It felt weird because it came out of nowhere. We were doing well and planning to build a family together. After my reply, she insisted a lot. In the end, I decided to give it a try. Here are the boundaries she set. You should always prioritize the spouse instead of the other partner. Always use protection. Do not bring the partner to the shared house. Do not form overly emotional connections. I told her I wasn't sure if I could do some of these things. I'm an emotional person, though I love the physical part too. She said it's okay, I'll be able to do it, and it's hard for men to form emotional relationships in such cases anyway. She found a partner quickly and easily. My wife was my first relationship partner, so I wasn't confident in myself. I didn't have great chances when I was in my 20s. Eventually, after clearing out most of my work, I decided to try finding a partner in my spare time. Surprisingly, I was flocked with interest from younger women and women around my age. I knew maturing and aging did a great job for me, but not to this extent. I started talking to multiple people, but decided to go ahead with only one of them. When I shared this information with my wife, she seemed surprised but congratulated me. She said she was shocked at how beautiful this woman was and I was able to get her. It's been 10 months since I found a partner, but the more I got to know them and spent time with them, the more we formed an emotional connection. This woman is aware of my situation and respects my boundaries. I realized I lost my emotional and physical connection with my wife over time. I know one of the boundaries was about emotional connections and prioritizing the spouse, but I told her I wasn't sure if I could comply with some of these. I had a difficult talk with my wife last week about my situation. She immediately offered to close the relationship and go to couples counseling, but I'm not interested, to be honest. She feels no different than a friend to me. I'm afraid I built resentment for her due to the open relationship situation. I told her it would just extend the misery for me and I would like to have a divorce. She flipped and cried, saying I was throwing everything away just for a fling. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. A story as old as time. She dug her own grave here, and she already had someone in mind, which is why she pushed for it. You didn't throw everything away for a fling. That sounds like a projection on your wife's behalf, who seemed to have someone lined up very quickly. Yep, and just how much you want to bet that partner she found quickly was lined up already? Given she suggested that new arrangement out of nowhere and then conveniently insisted a lot until he gave in, 100% that other dude was already around in some way. She was already having an affair with the other person and did this to make herself feel less guilty. That's what I took from it too. The wife was both surprised that OP found someone and then surprised again at how beautiful the woman was. She liked the convenience of the marriage, and maybe her own fling isn't going as well. Dude, your wife took a huge risk opening up the marriage, and you were honest with her about your emotional connection personality. In my opinion, she's facing the consequences of her actions. Better off without her. Good luck with your future. Growing up, I, 21 female, was a difficult child and was always rude to my mom. She passed away in 2019 and I was quite honestly extremely broken and couldn't forgive myself for the way I treated her while she was alive. My dad had apparently been planning on remarrying and started seeing my now stepmother at the beginning of 2020. They got married in December 2020. The most hurtful thing about this was that he didn't tell me about her. I accidentally found out and had to confront him, and only then did he tell me he'd been planning on remarrying. I tried to get along with her and be as nice as I could allow myself to be since I was still grieving. Things didn't go well and we got into fights all the time because she was always trying to control my daily life and be involved in my academics, which I didn't feel comfortable with since neither of my parents ever did that. I've always been independent and self-sufficient with my education and career decisions. They would only ever advise me. She kept making comments like, "You can't study such a difficult course. Your dad should have chosen something easier and less expensive," which made me angry. Things kept spiraling and it got to a point where she would be jealous of the smallest forms of support or efforts my dad put in for me, with sarcastic remarks like, "I don't understand why you keep prioritizing your daughter over everyone else in your life. It's like you can never love anyone more than her." Note, my dad isn't big on affection or caring words, gets easily flustered or awkward with affection. I later found out that my dad and his mother gave her my mom's most valuable belongings, including her jewelry. They haven't even mentioned it to me. I told him I was upset about it and didn't want somebody else to have my mom's belongings. He said those things were bought with his money and that I'm not old enough to worry about them. The fights got worse and she would blame me every time for wasting my dad's money. I was telling him what outfit I wanted for my birthday. One time it spiraled out of control and she told me to never eat the food she made and asked me to get out. My dad didn't stand up for me and only dropped me off at my friend's place for the weekend. I told him he was a horrible parent for not standing up for his child and letting his wife treat me this way, and that I'd never forgive him for giving up my mom's gold to her. I told him I'd never seen him respect my mom's opinions or wishes and that it wouldn't change the fact that he was a horrible husband just because he supports my stepmother with all her opinions and wishes now. Not the idiot. Your dad sure is one though. You're 21 years old and not old enough to be worrying about these things. You're an adult now. It's fine to go low or no contact with crappy people. However, I'm being petty. Every time you see her wearing the jewelry, say with a snarky voice, "Mom's jewelry looked better on Mom. She had class." Brilliant. Tell her that every time you see her. Your dad has grossly let you down for years, if not maybe your entire childhood. He may be legally fine, but giving your mother's jewelry to his wife was morally wrong and just tacky. And I can't imagine taking the jewelry of a woman who passed and left a grieving child. Sounds like your dad and his wife deserve each other, as they're both terrible. I'm sorry you're going through this. Please keep working hard in school and build a good life for yourself. Eventually, you'll never have to see these people again. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. From the beginning, I was upfront about wanting a long-term relationship and probably marriage in a few years. He said okay, but never moved the relationship along. I had to bring up that we'd been dating for months and should be exclusive, and he said that it was too early but wanted to move in together. So I never got the sense he wanted to get married despite him saying he did. He will say whatever he thinks I want to hear. He's a salesperson who is very charming and personable, but it's hard to trust him because of those traits as well. He said that marriage is outdated and unnecessary, and men should want to stay in a relationship without a piece of paper. Of course, there is how men get screwed in marriage, and so that's why men don't want it. Recently, a mutual friend got pregnant by her boyfriend of 5 years, and she obviously wants to get married and have the baby in wedlock. He said no, and she and he have been fighting since. She's privately told me that she's considering termination because of this, as he's obviously unreliable. Still, she's scared. Why do all women want marriage, etc.? I want to take him at face value, but the conversation made me believe I may end up like our friend. Not the idiot. You want marriage, he doesn't. You're not compatible with someone who doesn't want marriage. Why would you waste more of your time with someone you're fundamentally incompatible with and who does not value what's important to you? Just block him, move on, and find a guy who shares your goals and values. Info: did you move in with him even though you were not in an exclusive relationship? You remained in a relationship with him for 2 years even though you wanted to be married, and he said it was outdated and unnecessary. There is no, he never moved the relationship along. That's a thing you both created together. If you have the sense that he'll say whatever he thinks you want to hear, and you're still with him after 2 years, that's as much on you as it is on him. Not the idiot for breaking up with him. Should have done it way sooner. Block and move on.